When I came to the SDG, I was very happy because I realized that this is not a traditional university with just academics. There are practitioners. You get to spend time with the Prime Minister of Finland and the Finance and Environment Minister of Greece and the European Commission's former president, and all these amazing people who have a breadth of experience. My current mentor is the Climate Director General for the European Commission. So these people bring in a breadth of experience in the real world. So when I was looking for an internship, I was looking for an opportunity where I could also exist in the real world, as opposed to just in academia. And a very thin line between the private sector and the public sector is the World Bank. It's a very dynamic organization which works to eradicate poverty while being extremely dynamic in the way it raises money, in the way it engages with partners and countries. And it felt like the right move after having experienced United Nations in the past with my work experience, small non-profit organizations, and even the private sector. And knowing that I'm in the SDG with all these practitioners who are also as pragmatic as the World Bank is, felt like the right trajectory to undertake. In the first year of the SDG program, there was immense opportunity to take a breadth of courses, whether it's legal law courses to courses that explain the bureaucracy of international organizations and what kind of organizations exist, to something that I find difficult, which is economics. All these courses, they come together to not make me an expert in one of those, but a generalist. And being a generalist is something that's really valued at the World Bank. And that was another reason how knowing everything, not from incredible depths, but at a reasonable understanding, helps in then using those transferable skills to have better analytical and critical thinking about issues that exist in the world. And those sort of skills are really valuable to an organization like the World Bank. At the World Bank, my typical day was diverse. There were days when I would work from home because we were operating under the COVID pandemic regulations, and I would engage with my colleagues over the internet, over emails, all day, doing various tasks, preparing various briefings and strategic notes. But there were more interesting days when I could go to the office, which was within the landscape of the United Nations workplace in Geneva. And that was an incredible experience in itself, to be able to then engage with colleagues on a one-on-one basis. And these are experts in disaster or climate or health or trade, everything that's relevant to the landscape of diplomacy in Geneva. There were also even more interesting days when I would be able to actually go to high-level meetings like the World Trade Organization's General Council and represent the bank there, just as an observer, but then to pass on the strategic intelligence that I've gathered, having attended those meetings, back to my colleagues. So there were dynamic days where I'd be attending high-level meetings, whether online or in person, and there were other days when I would be engaging one-on-one with my work colleagues over Zoom, over meetings, and on various files that were exchanged all through the day. I think having worked for the World Bank, it's a very relevant organization. For instance, when I was there, the World Bank, along with the WTO, the IMF, and the World Health Organization, announced that it would try to generate $50 billion to provide 400 million vaccines to countries that haven't had equitable access. I really thought I was in the middle of something which was grand, and an organization which made its promises in a way that could be fulfilled. And existed in the real world, very pragmatic. And so hopefully this experience means that I can then go back to the World Bank, work for a few more years, learn a lot from the landscape of global development work that they have been doing in over 150 countries. It's quite an unparalleled experience. Now that I'm back at the SDG from the bank, the World Bank in Geneva, there is a fair bit of reflections to do both ways. My place at the SDG, my place in global development in organizations like the World Bank. And I've been doing that, including with professors who have been very kind to take me for coffees and hear my reflections on what has happened over these very intense 3 months at the World Bank. And so most of my interactions with professors and others have been around how do I make use of this incredible opportunity that I've received to be working for the World Bank into something more sustainable towards a career goal. There have been opportunities since, for instance, Professor Delbecque has been exploring working now for the European Investment Bank and that sort of connection there, since the SDG holds the EIB Climate Chair. And I've myself, having worked for the bank, gotten more interested in climate as the next big issue. I mean, it already is, but as the next big thing to tackle. And therefore, being in the SDG where there's an expert for everything, I'm able to channel whatever I've learned from the bank and those reflections into more deeper conversations with these experts here at the SDG, and sort of funneling that into what it might look like for my career in the future.